sometimes a spider just looks like a Samantha. Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another Indie Book Review. Today I am reviewing The Last Will and Testament of Wilhelmina Broom, and yes, I do know how that last name is supposed to be pronounced, because the book explains it, by Vivian Moira Valentine. And if I have planned this correctly, with all of my ducks in a row, this should be coming out the day this book is published, which is very apropos because it is a spooky book coming out on Halloween. Although I decided to go with more like a November vibe, just because, figured more people would be seeing it in November. You know what? Let's move on. Our story follows Victoria, who has gotten an invitation to the will reading for Wilhelmina Broom, and it's kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you really want to come because there's something big for you here message. Just one catch. Victoria has no idea who Wilhelmina Broom is. She's probably some far-flung-off relative from some forgotten branch of the family tree. Victoria's not necessarily all that close to her family because they did not take her coming out as trans well, but in reality, you don't actually find out in this book how they're connected and or related. Yet, at least. But she travels to the town of Ravenkirk expecting a pretty short stay, packs only a couple changes of clothes, expecting one overnight and heading home. Except the town of Ravenkirk has other ideas. She stumbles into what I can only call as a battle of different factions. There are a bunch of different families or groups that are vying for power, I guess? Something. You get the gist that it's something metaphysical, but it's all up in the air because Gothic mystery. And our story also follows a member of one of these groups, Nicodemus, who is the black sheep of a once wealthy but now kind of fallen but still kind of wealthy family, who was kicked out for some gigantic transgression that is only alluded to at first, that the whole town basically hates him for. But he is here for his own ends. And you discover throughout the story that, the mission he's on is probably considered pretty noble, but he is willing to do some pretty ignoble things to accomplish it. Definitely a morally gray character, not gonna lie. Might be nominating this one for the Indie Ink Awards Morally Gray Character Award. I can't judge for it, obviously, but, I feel like it should be in the running. Regardless, there are a lot of different aspects of the town. It's definitely very, quaint New England. A lot of scarecrows around. Just a lot of scarecrows around. That is notable if you read the book. But regardless, of course, our titular Wilhelmina Broom was one of those spiteful elderly people that wanted her will to cause chaos. And it does, but not just because of what she did. Other stuff is going down. You find out there's even more shadowy players behind the scenes trying to screw things up and things are getting stolen. It's a whole thing. But first, I gotta talk about my biggest critique of it, which, if you've been around my channel, will not surprise you. And that is, it just feels like so much happens that it's not enough pages. Now, in full transparency, I am not usually a novella girly. I won't even touch a romance if it's not a minimum of 250 pages, usually. But Gothic mysteries and horror and the general spooky stuff kind of gets a pass because that genre or that type of book lends itself pretty well to a shortened format. A lot of very classic Gothic stories, like Phantom of the Opera and I believe Jekyll and Hyde, were originally told serially, thereby, drip feeding you the mysteries and ending on a cliffhanger. So that's kind of what I expected with this, that the first book would kind of just be Victoria getting to Ravenkirk, settling in, introducing some of the characters, and then there would be a big surprise reveal at the bequest. And while there was technically just so much stuff went down, just a lot of plot, a lot of characters, and it kind of wanted to race to a point that I don't think 150 some pages was necessarily enough for it to feel earned. Let me explain. There's a lot of characters, over a dozen, all spread out amongst the different warring factions, so to speak. And while there is a list of the characters at the beginning, it's just a lot to remember in the moment. Like at one point there was like Thorn and Zipporah are glaring at each other and I couldn't remember what factions each of them were a part of and why they disliked each other. Like that kind of thing was very confusing. And so I think I would rather have it be like the big concept to begin with. Here's the groups of players and then slowly introduce more characters and slot them into the group they're a part of rather than trying to have literally everybody introduced at once. It was just a lot to remember and I could not for the life of me remember like what faction everyone belonged to. But the biggest thing for me was the aspect of Victoria coming to view this place as home. I love sentimental stuff, but I am also really picky about sentimental stuff. Okay, you tell me new home or found family, like, I am going to expect this to be perfectly executed, but how to say this vaguely for spoilery things, Victoria makes a very big decision, like a very big life-changing, story arc-changing decision based on the idea that Ravenkirk is home, despite the fact that she has not even been in this town a full 48 hours, and she is talking about all of her, quote-unquote new friends, despite, again, not even knowing them for a full 48 hours, and, like, they're nice, like, they're fun people. I particularly enjoyed Victoria developing crushes on every femme person she meets instantly. It was very relatable, but nothing really spoke of, oh, I can see why this is already home. Like, it just felt like a new person coming to town and getting settled, and so I wanted more with that. I wanted it to be a slower evolution into, okay, this is home now, rather than jumping right into it in under 150 pages. Especially when, again, this is a series, so there's time to play with that. You don't have to jump into that aspect necessarily right away. And I know, again, how do I say this for spoilery stuff? I know why certain things needed to happen, certain decisions needed to be made for the development of the metaphysical things. Sure, that's vague enough. But still, I would have maybe preferred that, big metaphysical thing happen in book 2 instead and kind of take the time to introduce everything. But I do still like the concept of all of the mysteries that were introduced. It just felt like so much at once. And so I'm hoping that future installments in the series will maybe be a little bit more chill now that we're not trying to set up quite so much and we can deal more with the, drip, drip, drip of the mysteries, clues, and all of that. But also, I'm a little bit nervous, and I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, but I'm a little bit nervous that Wilhelmina Broom's letters and how far ahead she was able to see is going to kind of become a plot convenience, because there's one moment where you get a letter that shows that she knew several things that were going to happen after her death and had already planned for them exactly. And my worry is that that's going to just become a plot convenience where it's like, oh, anytime we just need to further the story, Wilhelmina saw this before her death and she planned for it. That's my only struggle. But again, with this being a metaphysical type paranormal gothic story, you probably could at least explain that to a certain extent and include it in the story. So I'll let that go for now, but that would be my biggest concern. However, we do need to talk about the best part of the entire book, which is Samantha. Samantha is a tarantula with a little skull motif on her thorax. I do not know tarantula anatomy. Regardless, she is originally introduced into the story via a prank pulled on Victoria. But because Victoria is a goth mommy, she's like, okay, this mine now, and decides that this tarantula is her new pet. And at one point, Samantha is riding on her shoulder. At another point, she has Samantha in her hands, and Samantha puts her little, let's call them paws, on Victoria's fingers, and you're like, okay. Now, originally, I thought this was just me, because I don't really have a problem with spiders. I fucking loved Tiffany Roberts' Spider's Mate trilogy. I'm already reading the sequel series. But apparently I'm not the only one, because the author did respond to my written review on the blog and was like, I was not expecting everyone to love Samantha. And I was like, aha, you have made the crucial mistake. You can never introduce a funny sidekick or a cute little animal without the audience becoming unreasonably attached. Okay? If anything happens to Samantha, we riot. Regardless, I did love that little bit of aspect. And there were a bunch of other little spooky things. Like, this is definitely, and in some ways, quite literally, the setting is a character type situation. So it definitely feels like all the good, spooky, paranormal vibes. And Samantha is definitely a part of that. I would not mind her taking an even bigger focal point in the story. But the story in itself definitely does end with just a ton of mysteries. Mysteries about Nicodemus's quest, let's call it. Like, you figure out what it is, but you have no idea how he's going to accomplish it, because again, Wilhemina seems to know something about it and how to help him. And then there's, of course, how is Victoria involved in all of this, and a bunch of other little things. Why did that one character that was supposed to be an ally do the thing they did? Who attacked this other character, and why are they like that now? There's so many mysteries, and again, my biggest hope is that they will be drip fed, and it will be like a little bit of information on stuff. I don't just want it to be like racing through all of these, because I feel like this has the capacity to be a nice long running series. Make it like an episodic serial that can go, that has legs, and just really lean into explaining more of what exactly everyone in this town is after, and what was that one metaphysical thing that led to the choice that our protagonist had to make, and just rounding it out. Like, we've introduced so much in such a little space. Let's take the time now to like go in depth. It's kind of like, when like you're just learning something new at school and the teacher will introduce a ton of concepts at once, but then breaks every single aspect of them down later. I would hope that's everybody's school experience, at least. But I am interested in what comes next. I would love to see a lot of these different mysteries resolved, and maybe more mysteries being introduced. You never know. I'd also be game for, more cute animal side characters. There's a lot of opportunity for a sapphic romance in here. Again, Victoria just basically is instantly falling in love with every woman she meets. And again, it is so goddamn relatable. But regardless, I would still recommend this if you want something a little bit spooky. It definitely leans slightly more towards the spoopy edge, but there is like one genuinely terrifying oh fuck scene that was very nicely done. I appreciated it. Regardless, I gave it 4 stars. Did highly enjoy it. It's a great way to spend your Halloween Eve. No, not Eve. That would be October 30th. Hallows Eve. And it's also be good for all other times too. Goth mommies are for all year long. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.